friends, Shalon Day with Bible Journaling Ministries. Today I will be using some Arteza watercolor pencils to create a Bible journaling entry for 2 Chronicles 5:17. Grab your kit and your watercolor pencils if you have them, and if you don't, grab any kind of watercolor medium that you have and journal along with me. If you're ready, let's get started. So let's take a look at our kit for 2 Chronicles 15:7, entitled Be Strong. The verse reads, "But you be strong and don't let your hands be slack, for your work will be rewarded." And that is from the World English Bible. We have these beautiful watercolor images, the floral images, the spa images. Your word fetty, be strong, your work will be rewarded. You have these beautiful washies, your tab, some spa treatment items. Then your second page has some more spa treatment items. Your beautiful faith text cards, more washi, crosses, a heart, and flags. And your third page has your larger images from the first and second pages and the larger word fetty. So what I will be using today are my Arteza watercolor pencils. And if you've never used watercolor pencils, they are very versatile and you are able to use them in different ways, including without water. So I will be using those. I have chosen several colors. This emerald green, which is A265 in the Arteza numbering system. Magenta, A224. The lavender, which is A227. Amethyst purple, A226. And peony pink, A257. Now, I had already planned on doing this technique video with a different type of watercolor medium. And if you notice, I have a watercolor paper over my margin, and I had to do that. Let me show you what happened with using the other medium that I was not familiar with and was testing. And I had tested it outside of my Bible and then thought, oh yeah, I've got the hang of this. I will do a tutorial video. Well, what happened was it didn't turn out at all. And the other side, it bled through terribly and my designs didn't work out. So I covered this with watercolor paper. I just cut to fit my margin. And then on this side, I have a piece of cardstock, white cardstock, that I am going to put on this side in the margin to cover up my oopsie, so that I don't have to worry about this terrible bleed through. So I had to switch gears and decide on something different, and that's why I went with the watercolor pencils. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. I have my I'm in 2 Chronicles chapter 15. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my verse, and I am going to be using just my watercolor pencil in the peony pink, which is the lighter pink. And this is a Hosanna Revival Bible. It is strictly for my momentum, bonus kits, and devotion art journaling. So 15:7, this is the CSB, and it says, "But as for you, be strong. Don't give up, for your work has a reward." So I'm just going to use my light pink watercolor pencil. I am only going to be working with my watercolor pencils on the margin where I have this watercolor paper. So I'm not worried about using my watercolor pencil and then doing something different over the scripture where I would add water, because if I did that, then this highlight would change. It would run or blend in with other places. So I'm not going to be doing anything over here on the scripture with watercolor pencils, but I am going to do something here to create a background. So what I want to begin with, I'm going to move my kit out of the way, and I did print on just sticker paper and cut with my silhouette. I tried to cut in between to get rid of this white space in these hearts, but it didn't quite work out. I had a square around and it was going to cut, so I just left those alone. I was successful in being able to cut the inside of this heart on the third page. And this is this was my inspiration, and this was kind of my test with the watercolor pencils on watercolor paper. And I just took my inspiration from this image here and tried to freehand. If you want to draw something in your margin, I found that using this is a Tombow drafting pencil, and I was able to draw this out, and as I added water, it didn't mess up my pencil lines. So just a side note, if you wanted to do that. You can actually use watercolor pens like this. I'm just going to be using, I might use a pen with the water in the base of it, but I also have just a thing of water, jar of water. And I tested it on watercolor paper because that's what I put here in my margins. So this was my practice and my inspiration from here, although I'm not going to try to recreate this because I am not an artist that can draw the same thing twice. And so I decided I just wanted to do a background on my watercolor paper, and I wanted to show you a couple of different ways that you can use watercolor pencils. Now, if you are a watercoloring artist, I am jealous, but what I'm going to start with is just drawing here kind of at the top and coming down just a bit with all of these different colors that were inspired from the kit itself. And I really kind of wanted to do like an ombre type of background. I don't know if it's going to work out, but then I thought, well, if I started at the top and did kind of a run, it would almost look interesting. So that is what I'm going to do. And I'm probably going to take out this turquoise color, the emerald green, and just do the darker colors. So I'm going to start with the amethyst, then go to the lavender, and then the magenta, and then the peony pink, just doing just to lay my color down here. I just want to create a pretty background. So move these out of the way just a little bit. And I'm just going to use these like a regular colored pencil and just lay down some color. Now I'm going to take my watercolor brush pens here. Kind of add a lot of pigment, just coloring darker, laying down the pigment. Move on to the lavender. And you could leave white space if you wanted to in between these. To do more of an ombre effect and let those colors bleed together, that would be okay. Let me get something to put under my page. Not because I'm worried about bleed through, just because this is thicker than my Bible page. And the water eventually. You see I left some white space there, so. And now the lighter pink. Now don't worry, I am going to come back with the turquoise after this is done. I've never used watercolor paper before either, so I really had to practice beforehand. So I have my colors laid down. I'm going to use, I have two of these watercolor brush pens. One is a finer, and I could actually kind of pull that to make it a tip, or this wide one that holds a lot of water. And I may actually start with this one, but it's going to take wiping and wiping and wiping to pull this color down, but this finer one will take me more time. So let's start with the wider one. And I do have a paper towel available just to wipe off and kind of clean my brush a little bit. So I'm going to get some water here out, just squeezing my pen to get that water. I'm going to turn my Bible here. But I'm just going to take and look how that pulls that color down. And I may have to do this a couple of times just to get some more color pulled down. And again, we're using watercolor paper because the first time I did this with a different medium, it bled through horribly. Now if you see, it's a little darker up here. I could add more water and pull some more down. Let's try that with this finer one. Just add some water up here at the top and pull that color down. I just dripped some water on there, trying to lessen that look where I colored. Okay, now let me show you something. I'm going to take this same pencil and I'm going to come down just a little bit. Now this is wet because I've just added the water, but look how you can use those. You could add the water and use your pencil to kind of come down. Look at that beautiful color. So now I can come back. I'm going to dry my pencil off here. Come back with this pen, brush pen, and pull some more water down. Pull that color down. If you wanted a different wash, you can also dry off your brush and soak up some of that water if you need to. Now again, this is a background, so I'm just squeezing more water to bring that color, soften that color just a little bit. You could bring the color all the way down. You can take your pencil again and just add some more if you wanted that darker. Maybe we want it darker at the top. Or along the edges. just going to lay down more pigment. You use your watercolor brush on top of water. Turning my brush sideways, kind of bringing that on down. Drying my brush off just a little bit. Gonna add some areas that add a little more texture. Kind of an ombre, because then at the bottom, just squeezing my pen here to get a little more water out onto my bristles of my brush. Kind of soften that a bit. Let it pool a little. And again, I'm using watercolor paper. Long strokes if you want it like that. Kind of picked that up where I've got it activated up here with that extra color, and then just bringing it on down. Let me clean this brush off. Make sure that there's no dark purple, because now I'm going to move on to the light. Let's use our, I think we're going to have to add some more of this color here, just to have some to work with. Trying to stay away from where I have the water on that side. Getting some clean water out on my brush. If you saw, I got a little bit of the pink there. And still activating some of that darker, because it's still wet, so it's kind of pulling into, just trying to soften. It's a very light purple. If you wanted it to be a little more, let's just take our pencil and add for that lighter effect. Just coming over where the water is heaviest. Dry my pencil off. And just spread that water, grabbing that pigment. Forcing it over. Just moving that pigment around. So I will speed up the video so you don't have to watch me do this with every color. So we're just creating a background for our kit. So I'll speed up the video as I finish these two pinks, and then I'll come right back. So I have some differing effects as far as intensity, and if you saw, I went back and I really tried to work the water in. I did go back with some more of my pencils on the water just to enhance some of that pigment. I love the way that it looks because it almost just looks like it's coming off down the page. Now, I did get just a little bit of water off of my watercolor paper on here. Not a lot. As you can see, it didn't bother my highlighting there. But now I'm going to take my jar of water and I'm just going to dip my pencil, this emerald green, the turquoise, into my jar of water here. And I'm just going to add some hearts. Again, just keeping with the theme of the kit, but I'm just going to dip my pencil just the tip of it, and just draw some hearts. You could use watercolor paper like this and do some bookmarks if you wanted to. Now, I said at the beginning I wasn't going to do any watercoloring on the scripture. That doesn't mean I'm not going to use the kit on top of the scripture for this particular verse and with this kit, because it is beautiful. And I love all of the colors. Just going to clean up my area here. I'm going to stay away from this for a bit because it does need to dry. And because I had water on here, it came onto the other side. It's okay because, again, I'm going to add my cardstock to cover it. So I'm going to leave that there because I do have some here on my little cutting board thing that I put underneath. And again, doesn't matter. It's going to get covered anyway on the other side. So, but just do be aware of that. Move my little paper towels here. I'm not going to put my tab on right now because, again, this is wet. Shouldn't take too long to dry, but I'm going to go ahead and use pieces of the kit over here on this side. I love this washi tape with the little coffee cup that says, "You're beautiful." Yes, I cover the scripture. Again, this Bible is specific to my art journaling. So not a study Bible. It's not a Bible that I take anywhere with me. It is strictly for momentum and my bonus kits. Covering scripture in this Bible does not bother me. Save that. Might be able to use it somewhere else. Let's see. Let's use the larger word fetty. And let's just place that up here. Be strong. And then here. Be strong. Your work will be rewarded. And it does come over onto the watercolor paper just a little. It's dry enough. I love these floral images. They are just beautiful. Let's use this biggest one. So detailed is this larger image here. Very watercolor-esque are these images. Trying not to cover my focus verse here. I'm moving that just a bit. Let's see, where did this one go? It went here. I'm just going to add that back in like that. I want to use all of the floral images because I just think they're so pretty. I love the purple. I love all of the colors in this kit. Be creative. I'll be honest, I was a little bit on the nervous side when it came to using these watercolor pencils because I'm very much a beginner using them. And I really, like I said, I practiced. I thought I had another medium to use. It didn't work out so well. And then I practiced on a piece of watercolor paper. I could not recreate what my drawing was inspired by these images. So we went with something else. Let's use, I'm going to use this larger lady image here. Now it is drier, it's not like sopping wet. And then let's use, and like I said, when we were doing this, some of this was going to get covered up. It's okay. Let's go ahead and put our tab on. I'm not at all disheartened by using these watercolor pencils, not at all, because I know, one, I have them on hand, and two, I can practice using them in the future. So they are a great medium to have. They're very versatile. They're very easy to take with you if you wanted to, take them with you on the go. Use some of these hearts as well. So remember, I said this heart, I was actually able to, with my silhouette, cut out that white space there. And that worked out nicely. So I could put this here and have my background show through it. I could not do it with this one. So it's going to have the white space in the middle. I could take a X-Acto knife or something and cut that, but it'll be okay. Let's just layer that. I do love how that one turned out though. And have some more of these hearts. And we have this turquoise heart. You can use all of these spa elements. They're so pretty and soft and soothing. I'm going to use a glue dot to put on the back of this because my second page is printed on cardstock so that I will be able to easily use my Faith Dex cards. It has kind of been my my habit to print the second page of these kits on cardstock. Just going to use some of these small double-sided glue dots and give it a bit of a raised part on this page. I would love to know any tips and tricks that you may have when working with watercolor pencils. I would love to learn more ways to use these. So please, in the comments, if you are a pro or have more experience than I do working with watercolor pencils, please share them below. Because again, I'm a beginner and probably did things wrong or different, but I would love to learn from you and find out how you use them and what are some of your favorite techniques to use watercolor pencils for, or with techniques that you use with watercolor pencil. How's that? I'm always open to learning. I never want to stop learning at all. I'm going to take the verse, even though I have it highlighted here. I am going to kind of place it in between these two hearts. And use the smaller hearts inside. Now, if you wanted to come back with maybe the black watercolor pencil and go around these things, these elements, to kind of bring it up off the page, you could do that. I'm actually considering doing that myself, and dipping the tip of my black watercolor pencil into the water and just going around. I think I'm just going to leave it. Nope, I'm not going to do that. But you could absolutely take it and outline around, just to bring things up off of the page a little bit. Let's use these larger crosses to fill in. Oh, these colors in this kit, they are so pretty. And let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and just add my cardstock on the back of this. I'm going to use my double-sided tape runner. Let me make sure that I need to straighten up that edge right there. So I will take my paper cutter and cut. I know this side is a straight edge, so I'm going to line that up so that I get a straighter edge. There we go. That's better. Okay, that fits nicely. Even though you're going to see some of that, it's okay. Let's take my tape runner. But please do, in the comments, give me some tips. Give me some tips on using watercolor pencils if you have them. I have watched a lot of tutorials and I'm working on it. I'm working on that. Okay. So I covered up my oopsies other than the edge of the page, but I'm not worried about that. and have a beautiful entry for 2 Chronicles 5:17 that says, "But you be strong and don't let your hands be slack, for your work will be rewarded." Thank you so much for joining me for a little journaling time using watercolor pencils. I can't wait to be with you again soon. And again, this month we are working with watercolors. So I'm trying to find some different, maybe things that you haven't used, most definitely that I haven't used before, just to show you what's out there and kind of how to use it, even though I'm still learning. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your grace and your understanding that I am just a beginner in some of these things. I can't wait to be with you again soon. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you. I pray you have a very blessed and wonderful day. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye.